Welcome back to the classroom, everyone. Today we have a different type of video and actually a different type of series that we are going to be working with over the next couple weeks. And what exactly is that series? That series is this, the badly geared batch. What do I mean by that? So recently, the full team of the Bad Batch, the full faction, has come into our game, which is great. There are a lot of reports of them being amazing in PvP, of them just destroying teams that have been before this just have been monsters like Jedi Revan or General Grievous. And one question that I've been asking, a lot of people have been asking as well, is okay, so these guys are great, which is cool, but are they great at Gear 11? Are they great at 3 stars? And I think a lot of this comes from Echo's unique ability that bases its damage off of your opponent's max protection health rather than on your own damage. So it's a big point of curiosity, and what I'm wanting to do here, both in today's video and also some videos to come, is I'm going to try to take Gear 11 3-star with the Zetas, Bad Batch, all the team like that, against common teams that you might see in GAC. And generally, you don't see a team in GAC with 3 stars in Gear 11, so we're going to be testing them against stronger teams, if you will, generally Gear 12 and up. Gear 12, 7 stars, maybe even some relics mixed in, just to kind of see how they hold up against what all of us are actually going to see, and really see if gearing these guys up to Gear 11 this early is worth it. Because maybe you don't have the crystal saved up for the money to whale out on them, but you still want to use them. But that being said, these guys are really expensive gear-wise. They need a lot of Kairos. So if you want to make that investment, we need to see if that investment is going to be worth it. I've already made it. My Bad Batch is entirely Gear 11 right now, and I really want to see what just they're capable of doing. So today we're going to be going up against the Geonosians. It's a really common team to see on GAC defense. Even if you're not seeing it now, you've kind of moved away from that. You'll probably see in the future when GAC teams get expanded for the later divisions, because they're just going to need more teams in general. So it's a very real team. So let's go ahead, and I have some footage here pulled up that my arena shorts helped me do, and I'm looking over their mods right now. So one quick disclaimer on this guy's mods. They are just a little bit below average speed-wise. You can see this GBA here is a 248 speed GBA. Normally the average is, I think, closer to 260. That doesn't really change anything, in my opinion, though, as far as their validity goes. Because at the end of the day, Echo has one of the highest base speeds in the entire game, right next to Moff Gideon before the Galactic Legends. So as long as you can get him faster than 260, which is really easy to do, it doesn't really matter. So his speed's a little bit lower, but that is really not that big of a deal. One other disclaimer that I should mention before we actually get to the battle footage as well is that I'm not trying to make a flawless counter video with this video as well. I am obviously going to be using some strategy. I am obviously going to try to win. I'm not going to try to lose. But that being said, there are probably going to be some misplays here and there that I could have done better. And if you guys see them, please do feel free to let me know in the chat. Let me know what I could have done better, what I did wrong. But overall, what we're looking for here isn't necessarily a perfect counter strategy. Because if you really want to force it with mods or with a really strong 5th character, you could beat probably a lot of teams, but that's not really going to be reliable. What I'm looking for here is, what are these going to reliably beat at their current gear levels? One other thing before we enter the battle that I'm going to try to do with most of these videos as well is I'm going to try to do these 4-man. The team looks great with the 4. The synergy is there. They look awesome. They can have a 5th, like maybe Cody or Varys or Shock, and I'll experiment with those as needed. Spoiler alert for this video, they don't need one. The 4 of these guys, they wreck. Even at Gear 11, 3 stars, as long as you have the modding right, they just totally wreck Geonosians. And we'll get to what that looks like and the strategy behind that. But in some of the other videos, that's not the case. They're going to need a little bit of help, maybe from a Varys, maybe from a Shock, maybe from a Clone Sergeant or something like that. But I am going to try to just use these 4. What I'm going to do next here is I'm going to show you guys everyone's mods. I'm not going to spend too much time in this. If you want to see what the mods exactly are, you can go ahead and pause it. Really the most important one is Echo. Echo is at 299 speed. That is very important, number 1, because yes, he's the fastest, but number 2, because of one of his abilities passes turn meter to the rest of the team if the enemy had buffs. And that's huge because that'll help your tech and the rest of your Bad Batch go as well. My tech is about, I think, 254. His base speed is a little bit lower, so it's a little bit harder to get a high amount of speed on him. But at the end of the day, as long as your Echo is going first against Geonosians, you should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and get into this fight right now. And you guys are going to see my Echo is going to go first. We saw that he was about 50 speed above. And I'm going to go ahead and start with this debuff move. The reason why I really want to start with this debuff move is also because this is the one that's going to pass turn meter to the rest of the team. You guys can see here, you could see, that the Brute had Taunt up and I believe Spy had Stealth up. So that's 2 buffs. So that's going to generate enough turn meter for the rest of my team to go. So even, let's say this Geonosian Brute Alpha was 280. He's not going to get the next turn next. I'm going to get the next turn. And that's really, really important because the next one up is going to be Tech. And Tech is just absolutely crucial here because of this huge AoE stun. And this is where a little bit of the RNG starts to come into play. The first debuffs with the days from Echo, they are unresistible. So you're golden there. There's no RNG. You're going to land it. The Geonosians are done for in that respect. However, when it comes to Tech stun, it does have like 100% chance to land, but it still falls short, or it still falls. It can be beaten out by tenacity. So that's whether the tenacity and the potency check. And it's kind of a good news, bad news situation in this team because the Geonosian Brute Alpha, he actually has 60% extra tenacity. That is pretty much counteracted by both Tech's unique that has 25% potency from his Sacred Translation, which he gets when he uses a special, and Hunter's 50% potency. So you should come out on top. It's just something you need to be aware of. This is going to be mod dependent. If you decide to mod your Tech for no potency, and the opponent decides this GBA for all tenacity, what's going to happen is you're going to stun everyone but GBA or Poggle for that matter, and one of them is going to cleanse, and they'll probably be able to wreck your team. That AoE stun in the very, very beginning is really, really important, and you can see what I'm doing right now. Because what happens is with a Bad Batch team is they have a lot of turn meter removal due to the exposes. One of the other big functions of the team is the translation. And the translation takes a hot second to get going. You have to be able to give everyone translation through Tech's ability, but you also have to go through a whole round with their specials to be able to get it to function. So the setup is by far the most important part. One thing I did like about this video as well, and one of the reasons why I'm choosing to share this one specifically, is because the Geonosians got a turn and this round of testing. I want to show you guys that is not the end of the world. Wrecker can take the hits for the most part, as long as there's not too many. But that being said, it doesn't really change much either. In some of the other testing, Wrecker went down, but again, the rest of the team, once they end up getting their turns, there's just not a lot you can do to stop them. It's just a very, very natural counter, even at this low of gear, even at this low of stars. Primarily because of the AoE true damage that Wrecker gives with the defense up with Hunter's lead. It just wrecks them so bad. No pun intended, but I'll take it, I guess. Also the exposed just immediately dropping out their turn meter, the multiple AoE stuns, even without the proper gear or the proper stars, they still do a number on the Geonosians. That being said, I do think this is a little mod dependent. We talked about the question of potency and tenacity with Tech, but I think there's also a question of speed, and we'll get into that in the next round of testing. I have one more video to show you guys and kind of what can go wrong if the modding isn't really quite there. So again, I don't think my execution this was perfect. I think there were definitely some misplays, especially in the very beginning. I went and decided to use Hunter's turn meter swap rather than his buff gains right at the beginning. I think that was a pretty big misplay. I think what I'm trying to do right now is forfeit so that I don't drop this guy in so I can do more testing. Big shout out also to the guys I'm testing with, Logan and Echo. Huge help. They helped me with all this video and the videos to come. So what I did right now, I'll pause this for a second. There was a slight blip in the recording, and that blip, what was I doing in that blip? I was taking speed off Echo and off Tech. And I was trying to get to the point where they were just slower than Geonosian Brute Alpha. So you guys can see exactly what happens if you do not have that speed, if your modding falls short in that sense. And this is what happens. The AI is smart enough to go right after Echo, and you just automatically lose. It is mod dependent. I'm not too upset about this though, because honestly, most counters are mod dependent. Even counters against Geos, like if you slacken your Trey modding or your Vader modding or whatever you're using, those counters can also end poorly. So That's not a big breaking point for me, but that being said, let's go ahead and look at an overview of taking these characters up to gear 11 to see if it's worth it or not. So one thing that I'm going to be doing in all these is we're going to be working with this sheet right here. I just seen an overview of where they fall. So first things first, what about their mods? Can they be flexible or are they crucial? At least with Geonosians, they are absolutely crucial. You cannot just come in with whatever mods you want. You have to be faster, and you have to have a decent amount of potency. You have to be able to land that initial stun, to be able to get the translation and everything going. Otherwise, you just fall behind pretty quickly. What about a fifth? Is a fifth needed, or is it luxury? Here, it's completely luxury. I don't say that just because the team is good, but I just don't see it working that well. Like one of the biggest fifths that I think would be great would be L3 for the pre-taunt at the very beginning. But at the end of the day, Brute and GBA, they both have the same exact speed, and they have buff remove on basic. So what's going to happen is you're going to bring it L3 because you're not fast enough. They're going to go and hit her. They're going to clear her taunt, and then they're going to go and hit your Echo, and you're going to lose no matter what. I don't think Varus is enough to help here to make up for the speed loss. The health, you guys can look back at the modding, but the health pools of these guys is really small. Really what we were trying to go for was protection here because you can't put 60 mods on them. So we were just really limited with that. I don't think Varus would do it. I also don't even think Shock would do it. Shock actually might. She could probably pass the turn to Echo. So if you're not fast enough, you could probably use her in its place. But again, if you fall short of the potency there, it can end poorly for you. So fifth is luxury. Don't really think it's needed. Where would I rank this on a counter list? If it is it nuanced, is it soft, or is it hard? I would say soft. I would say if you have all of your modding correct, this is going to probably work about 80% of the time. There are just a few rare instances where someone is going to resist a debuff, even if you go through the potency of the tenacity check, which is a part of the game, and it can wreck you. And really, these guys, at least at gear 11, they do not have enough survivability to be able to recover from someone cleansing earlier and getting a bunch of attacks off. It's just not in the cards. So at the end of the day, do I think this is worth it? Specifically, if you need a Geonosian counter, I would say yes. 80% success rate is, for me, is really good. I would take that. It's not the best count in the world, but it's definitely valid. But this is just them against Geonosians. So we will be doing other videos. So please do like or subscribe so you can see those, or however that works on YouTube. But yeah, one final thing I want to say before we end here, and that is I stream my GAC battles every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to see me guys use these undergeared Bad Batch in action, please do come check it out. But until the next time, I'm going to be telling you guys all to stay awesome.